if you haven't finished watching the video that this video was linked from, why remembering the kanji is the best way to learn kanji, then please go back and finish watching that first, because in this video I'm going to be assuming that you've already seen it. So there was basically just a few things that in hindsight I realized wasn't very clear in the video, and I just wanted to clarify them. So first, I realized that I didn't really explain the way that RTK was published. So RTK was published in 3 books, RTK 1, RTK 2, and RTK 3. Now if you watch my AJAT timeline video, I actually say do RTK 1 and 3, but skip RTK 2. And I forgot to explain why that is, so I mean, it confused a lot of people. It sounds weird, right? Like, why would you skip the middle one? Well, here's the deal. RTK 1 teaches you 2,000 kanji, and, well, it teaches you how to write and the meaning of 2,000 kanji, but it doesn't teach you any readings. Then RTK 2 teaches you the readings of the 2,000 kanji that you learned in RTK 1, but it doesn't teach you any new kanji. Then RTK 3 teaches you 1,000 more kanji, so that the total amount of kanji that you know totals out at 3,000. So if you watch the video, it should be pretty clear why you don't want to do RTK 2, because basically the whole point of the video was that the most efficient way to become literate in Japanese is to use an out-of-context approach to learn just the readings, an out-of-context approach to learn how to write the characters and what they mean, and then use an in-context approach to learn how to read the characters. So using an out-of-context approach to learn the readings like RTK 2 is extremely inefficient. And I guess some people thought that when I was talking about RTK 1, 2, and 3 in like a package, and then they were saying actually KKLC is better because it's more efficient, blah, 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 blah. But if you listen to what I said in the video, I don't really, it's kind of confusing to me how we would think that, because I'm obviously saying that something like RTK 2 or like KKLC that learns readings out of context is extremely inefficient. And I also realized that in the video, I talk about Heisig like he's some genius who came up with exactly everything I'm saying in the video all on his own in one go. But when you really think about it, just the fact that he published RTK 2 is a sign that he didn't really get what I was saying in the video. And so I was kind of giving him way too much credit. Because he probably really didn't have as much wisdom as I make it sound like he did. Still awesome guy. But there is that. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was that I wanted to explain what do I mean when I say learning things in context. Because some people said, hey, WaniKani actually does teach you kanji readings in context because you learn vocab with the characters. But basically, in WaniKani, they still tell you, like, hey, there's this kanji, it has this reading. And then, yeah, it gives you an example word, which is nice and better than nothing. But you're still learning the readings of the characters because you're like assigning in your head certain readings to certain kanji. And what I mean by in context is that you're just straight up learning words. You're not even thinking about characters as having isolated readings. You just actually find words you want to learn from real native media, like from manga, from anime, from the comment section of Japanese YouTube videos. And you just say, okay, this word consists of 2 kanji, and it's read like this. And you just think of those 2 kanji as like one combination, and you just learn the reading for that. You don't even think about what reading goes to what kanji. And if you do this and you learn enough words, eventually you'll naturally gain the ability to know what the individual readings of kanji are, because your brain will naturally be able to deduct, like, hey, this character, all the words I know that contain this character all start the same way, like all have the same sound component in it, and you'll just naturally start to know. But once that happens, it'll be very intuitive to you. It won't be a conscious thing. Like when you come across a new word and you want to try to guess the reading, it won't be like you were calling, like, what's C? What did I memorize that the reading of this kanji was again? It's not going to feel like that. It's just going to be like, badam. It's going to be there because it's intuitive. That's how you build intuitive knowledge, is through learning the words, learning readings in context like that. So there's that. The last thing I wanted to explain was that I kind of realized that I wrote the video under the assumption that people kind of understand AJAT philosophy, but I realized that's a lot of people don't share that paradigm, and so they ended up not understanding a lot of what I was saying. And basically, because learning kanji isn't an end in itself, right? It's a means to the end of becoming literate in Japanese. You can only talk about the best method of learning kanji within the greater context of a method that actually takes you from nothing to fluency, right? And so basically, my paradigm of language learning is that learning and acquisition are different. You can memorize what a word means, but that doesn't mean that when you're listening to real Japanese, your brain's going to be able to pick out that word and understand it. Because if you just memorize it, that's just a piece of knowledge. But language is something that's deeper in the brain and it's more intuitive. And so when you get to that point where as soon as that word hits your ear, you immediately know what it means. Like what's going on for English right now, right? Like right now, you're understanding everything I'm saying, and you couldn't not understand it if you wanted to. It takes you literally zero effort to understand what I'm saying, which is totally incredible. But that's the result of acquisition, which is different than learning. And so what Stephen Krashen's input hypothesis says is that acquisition happens through input, not output. So some people don't really share that paradigm, and they kind of have this way of thinking that if you memorize a word, then you know it. And yeah, maybe it's not very fast at first, but if you just practice it enough, like you just drill those flashcards enough or just practice speaking enough, eventually it'll become very natural for you to say or for you to understand. But unfortunately, that's not how language acquisition really works. It seems like it would be that way, but really it happens through input, only through like listening to the language for hundreds of hours will your brain slowly decode it, and you'll get to that point where it's really natural. But that's an mostly unconscious process that you can only help along minimally with your conscious mind. And so some people have a different way of thinking, which is that, hey, if you just memorize a bunch of words, like you just grind a 6K deck, then you'll become fluent in Japanese or something. And I can see that if you have that way of thinking, why you would think that KKLC it would be more efficient, because it makes it easier to transition into grinding more vocab, because you can just start grinding the vocab as you actually learn the characters. But from an AJAT paradigm, that's actually not going to help you very much in the long run, because even after you've crammed all those words into your brain, you're still not going to be any closer to actually understanding native Japanese or being able to use native Japanese. So I basically was talking in the video under the paradigm of the input hypothesis and AJAT, and that you need to pick things up. You have to actually be having a lot of real native input. And so there's that. I just wanted to kind of clarify that, part of it was just because I wanted the clickbaity title the best way, but also, yeah, that was pretty bad on my part for not being clear that you can only have a best way to learn within the best method, which I think would look something like AJAT, maybe. So there's that.